Parts of the temporal bone is tympanic part. Tympanic part, I told you, it's here for the ear, this part. This is tympanic part. This is tympanic part. External acoustic notus, it's here in the tympanic part. External acoustic notus is here in the tympanic part. Below the tympanic part, you can see a styloid process. Below the tympanic part, you can see a styloid process, and it's here. I told you, tympanic part participate in the mandibular fossa here, the posterior side of the mandibular fossa. You can completely see the tympanic part, it's here, and you can see that a little in the posterior side of the mandibular fossa. The last point about tympanic part is this canal. This is external acoustic notus. This is external acoustic canals. The sounds, the signals goes to the hearing system from this foramen and then goes to this canal. So what is the wall of this canal? External acoustic canal. It's like a canal. It is approximately, for example, 2 centimeters. It's here, okay? So, what is the wall? It has this shape. Anterior wall is by tympanic part. Inferior wall is by tympanic part. Posterior part, half of the posterior part is by tympanic. So, you have this shape. Anterior wall, inferior wall, and a little from posterior wall of this canal, from external acoustic canal, is by tympanic, but superior wall and a little in the posterior is from a squamous. The superior wall of the canals and a little from posterior is from a squamous part of the temporal bone. We are talking about this canal, external acoustic canal. I told you this canal has walls, okay? Anterior, inferior, and posterior is tympanic, but superior and a little posterior is the squamous part. Tympanic part and styloid process. Look at this picture. Look at this artery. This is internal carotid artery. The artery for the brain, the most important artery for the brain. Passing from carotid canal. Look at here. Here is jugular foramen. Anterior to the jugular foramen, you can see carotid canal. This is carotid canal. Look at the artery, internal carotid. What is the point? The point is, when this artery goes to the petrous part, directly don't go to the skull. A little turning in the petrous part, then go to the skull. So it goes to the petrous part, then a little run, then go to the inside of the skull. Look at the picture. Goes to the petrous part, a little transversally move in the petrous part, then it goes to the inside of the skull. So it has some parts in the carotid canal, in the petrous part, passing here. You can see in this picture completely. I'm talking about this part, passing inside of the petrous part. Look at the hearing system. I told you hearing system is located in the petrous part. You can see that. This is external ear, this is middle ear, and this is inner ear. 3 parts of the ear, they are located here. In this picture you can see inner ear, semicircular canals, cochlea, halazon, this is inner ear. And finally, they receive the information from balance and hearing and send it to the cranial nerve number 8. This is cranial nerve number 8, vestibulocochlear nerve. I told you this nerve passing from internal acoustic notus. You can see that here. Vestibulocochlear nerve and also facial nerve. Facial nerve goes inside, but vestibulocochlear goes outside from internal acoustic notus.
Why facial nerve go to the ear?
This is the location of facial nerve. It goes close to the ear, then go out from stylomastoid, turn in here, and finally goes out from goes out from here. A stylomastoid.
Has no function in the ear.
No, just passing. Just passing. You can see that here. Look at here. Facial nerve comes to the internal acoustic mountus, turn in here, and goes out from a stylomastoid from it. And it's close to the ear. It has some branch passing from here. No function. Because you know that facial nerve is the motor nerve for the face. Motor nerve of the face is facial. And look at this picture. This is middle ear. Middle ear. You will study next semester. You can see different parts. For example, the roof of the middle ear, I told you it's tegment tympani in the anterior surface. And the last point, I told you about jugular foramen. It's here, jugular foramen. Between jugular notch of the occipital bone, here, jugular notch of the occipital bone. This is jugular process, I told you. This is jugular notch, I told you, from occipital bone. And temporal bone has jugular fossa. Temporal bone has jugular fossa. Look at here. This is jugular fossa of the temporal bone. This is jugular notch of the occipital bone.
What's the function of the jugular notch and jugular fossa?
I told you they're making foramen, they're making jugular foramen, and four structures passing from jugular foramen. These two attached together, making foramen, jugular foramen, and four structures passing here. Three nerves, cranial nerve number 9, 10, 11, and one vein, internal jugular vein. These four structures passing from jugular foramen. So, temporal bone, it was very difficult bone. It has different parts. It was important, I told you, for many reasons, and we explained that. The next is ethmoid. If you understand the location of the ethmoid, it doesn't have very difficult information. The location of ethmoid is in the roof of the nasal cavity. It's here. Roof of the nasal cavity. Not external nose, nasal cavity. This is oral cavity. Superior to the oral cavity, we have nasal cavity. This is external, you studied in the respiratory system. Nasal cavity, it has concha, it has septum. The roof is here, ethmoid. Look at here, this color, this is ethmoid. This is external nose, this is nasal cavity, and roof of the nasal cavity, this bone is ethmoid. So, how many parts we can see in ethmoid? First of all, it has one transverse plate. It has one horizontal plate. Cribriform plate. What does it mean?
Between two orbital?
Very good. Between two orbital plates. Yesterday I told you, orbital plates in the frontal bone. It has ethmoidal notch. Ethmoid goes inside.
Yes.
So this is cribriform plate. What does it mean, cribriform?
This process of
When you use the machine to make a cake, something like
Yes, what you say in Arabic to that, exactly.
we say غربال, مصفى.
Garbal, yes, in Farsi we also say garbal.
Yes.
Yes, it has a lot of foramen.
Yes.
You can use that to, for example, pass something. Yes, because this plate has a lot of foramen. Let me show you.
For olfactory nerve, which is
Exactly.
nerve number 1.
Look at this picture, guys. We're talking about this plate. This plate here, in the ethmoidal notch. These are orbital plates of the frontal bone. I told you, roof of the orbit. It has U-shaped notch. Ethmoid goes inside. Look at here now, it's inside. This plate, the name of this plate is cribriform. Cribriform means garbal. It has a lot of foramen. Okay? So look at here. Why it has a lot of foramen? For olfactory nerve. The smelling of the nose. Again, guys, neurons. Dendrites, they are here. In the nose, nasal cavity. They receive the chemicals, smells.
Yes.
Then send it to the brain by axons. Okay, then send it to the brain by axons. Olfactory nerve is cranial nerve number 1 and it's sensory. So let's imagine this bone, ethmoid, has one plate. The name of this plate is cribriform, and this is roof of the nasal cavity. This plate has a lot of form. Okay. From these plates, cribriform plates, we have one plate go down like this. Cribriform plate, one plate vertically goes down. It's here, comes to the septum of the nose. This plate comes to the septum of the nose. Let me show you.
Perpendicular plate.
Perpendicular plate in the septum of the nose. Vertically go down. It's here. So cribriform plate, and one plate vertically comes down. The name of this plate is peripendicular. Perpendicular means vertical.
Yes.
So we have two plates in ethmoid. One horizontal, cribriform plate, roof of the nose. It has a lot of form here. One plate vertically comes down, comes to the nasal septum. This is perpendicular plate. Okay, finish. Just two plates? No. Also, it has two mass.
Yes.
Lateral to this plate, to the cribriform plate, it has two labyrinths or mass. Where is it? It's here. Where is that? Between between eye, orbital cavity, and nose. So look at the location, it's here. Lateral to this cribriform plate, it has two mass. This mass is between orbital cavity and nasal cavity. Lateral side of the nasal cavity, but medial side of the orbital cavity. Medial side of the orbital cavity. For this reason, we can see some part of the ethmoid bone here in the inside of the orbit. After lacrimal bone, this is lacrimal bone. For tear, lacrimal bone. After that, you can see some part of the ethmoid bone. So this is the shape of the bones. Again, one perpendicular plate, roof of the nasal cavity. It has a lot of foramen. One cribriform plate in the roof of the nose. It has roof of the nasal cavity. It has a lot of foramen. Cribriform plate. One perpendicular plate in the septum, and two labyrinths in the lateral side of the nose and medial side of the eyes. Medial side of the orbit, lateral side of the... This is the shape of the ethmoid. Let me show you, it's here. This is cribriform plate. Roof of the nose, it has foramen. This is perpendicular plate, number 3. Comes to the septum. And these two are lateral mass or labyrinths. It has two surfaces. One, lateral surface, number 1. It's in the eyes. It's here. Medial side of the orbit. And one here, lateral side of the nose. So this is lateral mass, or we say ethmoid labyrinth. So we have cribriform plate, garbal, yes. We have perpendicular plate in the septum, yes. And we have two labyrinths, this big part. Where is the sinus of the ethmoid? Sinus of the ethmoid is here in the labyrinth. You can see it has air cells. And if you could remember, I told you in the frontal bone, close to this notch, we have some half cells. They complete by ethmoid. They attach here and complete by ethmoid to the complete cells. I'm talking about frontal. And the last part, a small process goes up. From cribriform plate, a small process goes up, and we say crista galli. It's here. I'm talking about this part. Crista galli. Crista galli means crown of the rooster.
Yes.
Crown of the rooster. Rooster, you know that?
Yes.
Husband of the hen.
Yes.
Yes? Rooster, it has crown.
Yeah.
It is crista galli means this. Crista galli means this. So ethmoid. And we know this. The superior nasal concha and middle nasal concha is a part of ethmoid. Superior nasal concha and middle nasal concha is a part of ethmoid bone. Where is that? It's here. This is superior concha. This is middle concha. Superior and middle concha is a part of ethmoid. But inferior concha is a specific one. So we can see the middle turbinate or concha and superior turbinate concha. They are medial side of the labyrinth, in the lateral side of the nasal cavity. You can see cribriform plane and cristagalli. This is cristagalli. Guys, frontal crest, I told you, medial side of the frontal bone, we have frontal crest. Comes down and goes very close to the cristagalli. They attach together. But between them, you can see a small foramen secum. So between frontal crest and cristagalli, you have a small foramen. We say foramen secum. Secum means blind. Secum means blind. It's closed. It's not open. Foramen secum. So ethmoid bone is finished. And the last bone is the sphenoid. Last bone of the neurocranium is the sphenoid.
The mass of ethmoid is for passing the artery.
The mass of the
ethmoid for passing the artery.
No, the mass of the ethmoid labyrinth.
Yes.
It has a lot of air cells. It's the location of the sinus. Sinus of the ethmoid, you know that. Paranasal sinus, frontal has. Maxillary has ethmoid and sphenoid they have. So this is the location for the air cells, for air.
And what about the labyrinth artery?
Labyrinth artery, it's for the ear, it's not for the nose. Internal ear. I will tell you in the ear. Again, labyrinth, we have labyrinth in the ear. Labyrinth is like mushabbak, something like this. Okay? A sphenoid. Look at the shape of the bone. Again, it's a little weird. It has one body.
Cuboid body.
Yes, cuboid.
Has two lesser and greater.
Look at here. First of all, it has one body. It's like cuboid. It has 6 surfaces. Superior surface, anterior surface, inferior surface, posterior surface, 2 lateral surfaces. This is body of a sphenoid at the center. Okay. When you found body of a sphenoid in the center and it's like cuboid, you have 3 processes. 2 lesser wing. 2 lesser wing. It has 2 lesser wing. They are up and they are small. 2 lesser wing. It has 2 greater wings. They are very big. 2 greater wings. 2 lesser wing, 2 greater wing. You know what is wing? 2 greater wing, and 2 process goes down. Trigoid process. They have this shape. Trigoid process. So let's see in the picture. Body of the sphenoid, lesser wing, greater wing, and trigoid process. This is the main parts of the sphenoid bone. Body, lesser wings, greater wings, and trigoid process. Again, P is silent. Trigoid process. Trigoid process. This is anterior view. Where is the location of the sphenoid? Exactly behind the ethmoid. Look at the pictures. So this is ethmoid, yes. Behind that, this one is a sphenoid. Behind ethmoid, in the base of the skull, you can see a sphenoid. For example, look at here. This is ethmoid, okay? Behind that, this one is a sphenoid. Again, anterior view. Look at the body. Look at the lesser wing. You can say wing or ala. Ala also means wing, ala. It's greater wing. These are trigoid process. These are trigoid process. Anterior view. It looks like a bird. So let's start with the body. Let's start with the body of a sphenoid. Let me show you in this model. The white color is ethmoid. It has cribriform plate. It has cristogali. And here you can see behind the lacrimal bone, this white color, it's the labyrinth. It's in the medial side of the orbit. So behind ethmoid, we have a sphenoid. This is a sphenoid from superior view. The center is body. This is body at the center. These are lesser wing. These are greater wing. Trigoid process goes down. This is trigoid process. Trigoid process right. Trigoid process left. They are here. So let's talk about body. I told you body is cuboid. Superior surface, anterior surface, posterior surface, inferior and 2 lateral surfaces. So it has 6 surfaces. We start with superior surface. We want to talk about superior surface. I can see that from here. This view, this is superior surface. This part is superior surface of the body. I want to talk about that. From anterior to posterior, this is superior surface, this location. Superior surface of the body. From anterior to posterior, between 2 lesser wing, these are lesser wing. And between lesser wing and body, you can see a foramen. Look at here. Between lesser wing and body, you have foramen. Optic canal. Between body and lesser wing, you have foramen or canal. Optic canal. For the cranial nerve number 2, optic nerve coming from eyes. Optic nerve. So, let's talking about body, superior surface. Between 2 lesser wing, you have a flat region, flat surface. We say jugum of a sphenoid. Jugum of a sphenoid. Behind that, you can see 2 canal, optic canal. You know that optic nerve from the right side and optic nerve from the left side, right eye and left eye, they have a specific nerve, optic nerve. They share the information. Right side sent to the left, left side sent to the right. We say optic chiasma. This is optic chiasma here. Then continue. This is the chiasmatic groove. This is chiasmatic groove. Between 2 optic canal, you have a groove. This is the location of the optic chiasma. It's here. Again, behind that, you can see sella torsica. So look at the picture. Chiasmatic sulcus or groove between 2 optic canal. Guys, look at the lateral side. Look at the superior surface of the sphenoid. It has a fossa. Superior surface of the sphenoid. It has a fossa. It's here. What is the location of this? What is the structure is located here? Pituitary gland or hypophyseal gland. Pituitary gland or hypophyseal gland is here. What is that? Pituitary gland.
Endocrine system. It's endocrine gland.
Hypothalamus, hypophyse, they are connected together. Yes, they are here. So, this region has name, this fossa has name, and we say sella torsica. Sella torsica. Do you know what does it mean? Sella torsica. Torsica means Turkey, the country. Turkey, okay? Sella means something you put on the horse and then you ride the horse. It has this shape. In Farsi we say zin.
Search.
But
The
you know,
sandal, the sandal.
it's like this. You put on the horse, then you ride it. You sit on that. What you say?
Search.
Sir.
Okay. It's like this. Turkish.
Sir.
Okay? Because it's like this. Look at the picture. Exactly, it's like this. So sella torsica is this fossa. And this is the location of the hypophyseal gland or pituitary gland. Hypophyseal gland or pituitary gland. Sella torsica. Sella torsica, here everything is sella, is related to that shape. Anterior to the fossa, we say tuberculum sella. Posterior to the fossa, we say dorsum sella. So again, what happened? It has this shape. Anterior to the sella torsica, we say tuberculum sella. Posterior to the sella torsica, we say dorsum sella. Memorized by this. Posterior is dorsal, back is dorsum sella. Anterior is tuberculum sella. Look at the picture. This is sella torsica, this is dorsum sella, and this one is tuberculum sella. Dorsum sella, tuberculum sella, and sella torsica. You can see the picture again. Tuberculum sella, dorsum sella, and between them is sella torsica. Sella torsica also you can say hypophyseal fossa, because hypophyse is located inside of the sella torsica. All of these structures, they are superior surface. Again, let's finish the superior surface at least. Yes, it's here. Superior surface, the body anteriorly, it's dorsum sella superior. You can see in this picture also. Look at here, jugum of a sphenoid between two lesser wings, chiasmatic sulcus or groove for the two optic nerve, tuberculum sella, hypophyseal fossa or sella torsica, and finally dorsum sella. These are structures you can see on the superior surface. These are the structures you can see on the superior surface of the body. Jugum of a sphenoid, optic chiasma, tuberculum sella, sella torsica, and dorsum sella. Finally, you know that the body of a sphenoid attached to the occipital bone. Look at here. Body of a sphenoid. Finally, we have here occipital bone, basilar part of the occipital bone. I told you we have clivus here. We have clivus here, and this is the location of the attachment between occipital bone and body of a sphenoid. So it's enough. We will continue at 10. We will finish the sphenoid bone and we go to the facial bones. If you have any question, I will. It has 6 surfaces. We explained the superior surface. I told you it has jugum of a sphenoid, it has chiasmatic groove or sulcus, it has sella torsica, dorsum sella, tuberculum sella. This is the shape of the superior surface. You can see again here, jugum of a sphenoid, chiasmatic sulcus, tuberculum sella, sella torsica or hypophyseal fossa, and this one dorsum sella. This is the structure you can see from the superior view. So let's see the anterior surface, the anterior side of the body. You can see this shape. This is anterior surface of the body. What you can see, first of all, where is the sinus of the sphenoid bone? We know that maxillary, mandibular, ethmoid, and sphenoid, they have sinus. So where is the sinus, this empty space in the sphenoid bone, inside of the body? Look at here. Inside of the body, you have a sinus. I can see you from this view here. Inside of the body, this empty space is sinus of the sphenoid. So sinus of this paranasal sinus in the sphenoid is located in the body. So you know that sinus, they are related to the nose. They have mucosal membrane, they have mucosa endothelium, they secrete mucosa and they send it to the nasal cavity. So in anterior view, you can see the opening of the sinus. So this sinus, they should send the mucosa into the nose. The opening of the sinus, you can see them in the anterior surface. This is opening of the sinus. Also, in anterior surface, beside of the opening of the sinus, you can see a crest. You can see a crest. This is crest of a sphenoid. Crest of a sphenoid attached to the ethmoid bone because it's located anterior to the sphenoid. And superior to the opening of a sphenoid, you have some concha of a sphenoid. They are like, again, turning around the opening. Let me show you in the better picture. It's not very important, but these shapes you can see. These are, again, like concha, but these are concha of a sphenoid. They are superior to, so these are the structure you can see from anterior view. A sphenoid crest, a sphenoid opening of the sinus, and concha of the sphenoid or sinus. What about lateral side of the body? Lateral side, lateral surface. So we know this. The lateral surface of the sphenoid body, here is the location, lesser wing, greater wing, start from here. Look at here, lesser wing, greater wing. So as you can see, these wings start from lateral surface, lesser wing and greater wing. I told you, between lesser wing and body of a sphenoid here, we have opening, optic canal for optic nerve. Trigoid process also start from lateral and inferior side. It's like this, it's here. So the lateral side of the body is the location of the process. Lesser wing, greater wing, trigoid process, they start from lateral side. So look at the optic canal, it's here. Between lesser wing and a body, optic nerve passing from here. One more point in the lateral side. You can see a groove again. So look at the lateral surface. Lesser wing start, greater wing start. You can see them from superior view, and I can see a groove. You can see a groove in the lateral side of the body. What is that? Let me tell you one foramen here. Very good. Groove for carotid artery. I told you internal carotid artery. Look at here. Internal carotid artery passing from carotid canal and turning in the petrous part, then comes medial and goes close to the body of a sphenoid. Here, the artery goes to this groove in the lateral side of the body. Look at here. The artery comes here, lateral side of the body, and for this reason, lateral side of the body, you have a groove, and we say carotid groove for carotid artery. It's located here. You can see it very good in this picture. I'm talking about this groove in the lateral side. It's for the carotid, internal carotid artery. So what is the name of this foramen? What is the name of this foramen? No. Look at here. Where is the location? Look at here. Lacerum foramen. Look at here. This is petrous part of the temporal bone. Yes. Petrous part of the temporal bone. I told you. 3 surface, 3 borders. This is petrous part. Look at the apex of the petrous part. I told you. The base is lateral, apex is medial. This is apex of the petrous part. Apex of the petrous part attached is very close to the body of a sphenoid. Look at here. Apex of petrous is very close to the body of a sphenoid. Between apex of the petrous, body of a sphenoid, and occipital bone, these location, you can see one irregular foramen. You can see one irregular foramen. The name of this foramen is foramen lacerum. Foramen lacerum. Do you know what is the meaning?
When you count it artery goes
Yes, it's correct. It's completely correct. I told you, internal carotid artery passing from carotid canal, then turning in the petrous part and goes to the foramen lacerum. You can see that passing from petrous part and comes to the foramen lacerum. The name lacerum means ruptured. You know, imagine, for example, you have a paper, you ruptured. Okay? Okay, rupture. What you say in Arabic to rupture? Ruptured. Okay? Foramen lacerum. Yes, exactly. So, guys, in the lateral side of the body of a sphenoid, we can see lesser wing, greater wing, we can see optic canal, and we can see carotid groove. This carotid groove starts from foramen lacerum because artery comes here to the foramen lacerum and then goes anterior. So this is carotid sulcus. We talked about superior surface, lateral surface, anterior surface. Now we want to talk about inferior surface. What we have in the inferior surface of the body. Where is the location of inferior surface? Where is it? Inferior surface of the body is roof of the nose, the last part. Look at here. This is nasal cavity, nose, nasal cavity. Look at this picture. This is the last part you can see in the roof of the nose. This is inferior surface of the body. Inferior surface of the body is the roof of the nose, is in the most posterior part. In the most posterior part, inferior surface is roof of the nose. And vomer attached to that. Vomer, the bone in the septum. Look at here, from posterior view, this is vomer. This bone in the posterior side is vomer. Vomer attached to the inferior side of the sphenoid. It means vomer attached here. Vomer attached to the inferior side of the body of a sphenoid. In the inferior side of the body, we have rostrum. A sphenoid rostrum. Look at here. Look at this shape, rostrum of a sphenoid. This part. No. Rostrum sphenoid participates in the septum, nasal septum. It's a start from inferior surface of a sphenoid and goes like this. It goes to the septum of the nasal septum, and rostrum means nose. Yes, it's like a nose in the bird, as you can see here. Rostrum of the sphenoid. So what we have in the inferior surface, this is roof of the nasal cavity. It has rostrum, vomer attached to that. Yes, vomer is a single bone in the face, exactly. So anterior surface, superior, lateral, inferior, posterior surface. Posterior surface of the body attached to the occipital bone and finish. Posterior surface of the body attached to the basilar part of the occipital bone. So body of a sphenoid is very important. It has sinus inside, and different surface has different structures. Let's continue with lesser wing. This is lesser wing. This is lesser wing. From lateral side of the body, you have two small wings like this. lesser wing. Where is the location of this wing? Participate in which wall, in which location? Yes, the border between anterior and medial cranial fossa, I told you yesterday. This is anterior cranial fossa, this one is medial cranial fossa, border between them is the lesser wing, posterior border of the lesser wing. This is the border between anterior cranial fossa and medial cranial fossa. Okay, where is the location of this bone? Superior wall of the orbit. Look at here, this is orbital plates of the frontal bone. Frontal bone, it has orbital plates, roof of the orbit. Look at here, frontal bone, it has orbital plate. Behind that, the last part of the roof, you can see lesser wing. Look at this blue color, roof of the orbit. Look at the lesser wing, is behind the orbital plate. It means it's in the roof of the orbit. Roof of the orbit, the last part, the posterior part. Look at the picture. Here, roof of the orbital cavity in the most posterior part. Lesser wing. Lesser wing, I told you, also has optic canal. At the beginning of lesser wing, we have optic canal. Greater wing. Look at the lesser wing from this picture. And look at the greater wing. Greater wing is like this. From lateral side of the body, this is greater wing. Right side, left side is bigger. It has some part in the base of the skull. You can see that. This part of the lesser wing is in the base of the skull. Some part in the lateral side of the skull. I showed you in the pterion. It has greater wing, is located in the here. This part in the lateral side. Also, you can see that in the orbital cavity, lateral wall of the orbital cavity. So greater wing has three parts, you can find them in the three locations. One, in the base of the skull, here, in the base of the skull. One, in the lateral side of the skull, here. Lateral side of the skull, it's here. Let me show you from the better picture. It's here. Lateral side of the skull, in the pterion, in the lower part. And one, look, yes, in the lateral side of the orbit, it could be here. Behind the zygomatic bone, exactly. It's here, greater wing. In the lateral side of the orbital cavity. Lateral side of the orbital cavity, we have zygomatic bone. Yes, I know that, but behind that, posterior to the zygomatic bone, you can see greater wing. So again, greater wing has this shape. It has three parts. One part in the base of the skull, one part in the lateral side of the skull, and one part in the orbital cavity, lateral wall of the orbital cavity. We say fissure. Fissure. Look at here. Very good point. Look at here. Between lesser wing and greater wing, look at here. From posterior view, this is lesser wing, this one greater wing. Look at these cuts between them. This is supraorbital fissure. Fissure, I told you, means cut. Fissure means cut. Lesser wing, greater wing. Between lesser wing and greater wing, we have a fissure. The name of this fissure cut is supraorbital fissure. Important nerves passing from here. Cranial nerve number 3, cranial nerve number 4, cranial nerve number 5, cranial nerve number 6. All of this cranial nerve for the eyeball. Movement of the eyeball. 3, 4, 6 is the motor nerve for the movement of the eyeball. 3 oculomotor, 4 trochlear, 6 abducens. These are 3, 4, 6. These are for the movement of the eyeball. And they are passing from supraorbital fissure. And one part of the 5 ophthalmic nerve. Orbital nerve? You don't have orbital nerve. Optic nerve passing from optic canal. Cranial nerve number 2, passing from optic canal. So this is supraorbital fissure between lesser wing and greater wing. We have one infraorbital fissure between greater wing and maxilla. Let me show you the infraorbital fissure between greater wing and maxilla. Look at the picture. Lesser wing of a sphenoid at the roof of the orbital cavity. Greater wing of a sphenoid at the lateral wall of the orbital cavity. Between lesser wing and greater wing, we have supraorbital fissure. So this is supraorbital fissure between lesser wing and greater wing. Look at the optic canal at the beginning of at the root of the lesser wing. And look at here, between greater wing and maxillary bone, we have infraorbital fissure. So orbital cavity, it has 3 connections, 3 big connections. 1, optic canal, cranial nerve number 2 passing from here. 2, supraorbital fissure, cranial nerve number 3, 4, 6, and 1 part of the number 5 passing from here. And infraorbital fissure, some veins and artery passing. Optic canal at the root of the lesser wing. Supraorbital fissure between lesser wing and greater wing. And infraorbital fissure between greater wing and maxillary bone. These 3 connections is very important. And all of them, they are related to the sphenoid bone. Look at the sphenoid bone. You can see in the roof of the orbit. You can see in the lateral side of the orbit. You can see in the posterior side of the nasal cavity, the body. Greater wing, besides of these parts in the base, in the lateral side, and in the orbit, it has 3 foramens. Greater wing, it has 3 foramens. Look at here. 1, 2, 3. In each side. At the beginning of the greater wing, you have 3 foramens. 1, 2, 3.
The spinal foramen, the ovarian foramen is for passing the mandible layer, and the spinal foramen for passing middle marginal artery, and the rotundum foramen is for passing maxillary nerve.
Very good. Yes, exactly. Exactly, and completely true. Look at the picture. Don't talk together, guys. Look at the picture. At the beginning of greater wing, you have 3 foramens. They have this shape. From anterior, medial, they go posterior and lateral. Anterior, medial, they go posterior and lateral. Look at here. 1, 2, 3. Anterior, medial, they go posterior and lateral. Rotundum, oval spinosum, ROS. Rotundum, oval spinosum. These are the name of the foramens. Rotundum means round and big foramen. Foramen rotundum. Oval foramen. Oval means like oval shape. It's here, oval shape. So oval. And spinosum, for a spinous process, I will tell you. So from these 3 foramens, we have different structure passing. For example, from oval, from rotundum foramen rotundum, maxillary nerve. What is maxillary nerve?
The maxillary nerve is a branch from trigeminal nerve V2.
Cranial nerve number 5. Cranial nerve number 5, trigeminal nerve. Cranial nerve number 5, trigeminal nerve, is completely sensory, just a small part motor. I told you is the sense of the face. Cranial nerve number 5, trigeminal, is for the sense of the face. It has 3 parts. Number 1 is ophthalmic nerve. Ophthalmic nerve. Number 2 is maxillary nerve. And number 3 is mandibular nerve. So trigeminal nerve has 3 nerves: ophthalmic, maxillary, mandibular. Ophthalmic for superior part of the face, maxillary for middle part of the face, and mandibular for the lower part of the face. They are sensory nerve for the sense. So look at here. Maxillary nerve passing from rotundum. Maxillary nerve passing from rotundum. Mandibular nerve passing from oval. Maxillary nerve passing from rotundum foramen. Mandibular nerve passing from oval foramen. What about ophthalmic? Ophthalmic is the first branch. Ophthalmic passing from supraorbital fissure. Ophthalmic passing from supraorbital fissure. Maxillary passing from rotundum fissure foramen, and mandibular passing from oval foramen. In order from superior to inferior, you can see that. Ophthalmic, supraorbital fissure, maxillary, rotundum foramen, and mandibular oval foramen. So you should know that. If I ask you which structure passing from oval foramen, which nerve? Oval, mandibular nerve. Which nerve passing from rotundum foramen? Maxillary nerve. Or if I ask you ophthalmic nerve passing from which structures? Supraorbital fissure. What about spinous foramen? Middle meningeal artery. Middle meningeal artery, we had it, I told you, inside of the pterion. This artery is middle meningeal. Is passing from here, is a branch of maxillary artery, and you can find it here. Arteries send the blood to the meninges, yes. And these are not only a structure passing. For example, oval foramen, it has 3 structures. Mandibular nerve is one of them. For example, we have accessory meningeal artery, lesser pectoral nerve, emissary veins, or a spinous process. It has 3M, a spinous process. Is meningeal artery, middle meningeal vein, and meningeal branch. You can see here. Foramen rotundum, maxillary nerve. Foramen oval, we have mandibular nerve, accessory meningeal, lesser petrosal. Foramen spinosum, we have middle meningeal artery and other structure. Supraorbital fissure, we have cranial nerve number 3, 4, 6, 5-1. 5-1 means ophthalmic. Trigeminal first branch. 5-1 means ophthalmic nerve passing from supraorbital fissure. So lesser wing, greater wing. Maxillary artery. Maxillary artery. Guys, look at the greater wing in this picture. Greater wing in the base of the skull. Greater wing in the lateral side of the skull. And I told you in the lateral side of the orbit. The last part of the sphenoid bone is trigoid process, this process. Trigoid process. Trigoid process goes down from the body. Each process has 2 plates. 2 plate. It's 2 plate. Medial plate, lateral plate. The plates, they attach together from anterior side, but from posterior side is like a book when you're reading book. From posterior side, they are open. Look at the picture. This is posterior view. You can see between 2 plates we have fossa. But from anterior side, they attach together. This is posterior side, lateral plate, medial plate, and fossa between them. Trigoid fossa. Look at the anterior view, they attach together. Posterior view. So where is the location of these 2 processes? These 2 processes. Very good. Lateral wall of the nasal cavity in the most posterior side. Look at here. Trigoid process right and trigoid process left. They are lateral wall of the nasal cavity in the most posterior part. If you're passing from here, You go to the nasopharynx. This is the last part of the nasal cavity. So trigoid process is the lateral wall of the nasal cavity in the most posterior part. So what is the point? Medial plate is longer in each side. Medial plate is longer. And this is the lateral wall of the nasal cavity. Medial plate has homolus. It has something like hook. Okay? What you say in Arabic to hook? Okay, it has something like hook. It's here. You can see in this picture, this shape. Medial plate has this hook. We call it homolus. We call it homolus. So, lateral plate is shorter and it doesn't have homolus. Between medial plate and lateral plate, you have fossa. This is trigoid fossa. Between them, you have a space. Muscles start from here. Medial plate and lateral plate, from inferior side, they are not attached together. They are open. Look at here. Look at this opening. They are not attached together completely. They have a space. We say trigoid fissure. I'm talking about this opening. Okay? Medial plate, lateral plate is open from posterior side. We say trigoid fissure. So, medial plate with homolus, lateral plate, the trigoid fissure. Look at the superior side. The medial plates attached to the lower part of the body of a sphenoid and a little turning here. It has this shape attached to the inferior surface of the sphenoid and a little comes medial side. Here we have a fossa in the medial plates. We call it a scaphoid fossa. So this triangular fossa you can see in the upper side of the medial plate is a scaphoid fossa. In this picture you can see that trigoid process in the lateral side of the wall. It has two plates and between plates we have fossa. This is homolus of the medial plate. This is a scaphoid fossa for the medial plate. And I told you medial plate, a little turning in the inferior side of the body, and we call it vaginal process. This part of the medial plate is vaginal process. Look at this picture. It has this shape. When attached, a little comes medial. And we say vaginal process, turning. Vaginal means ghalaf, vaginal. A styloid process, let me show you in temporal bone, also has vaginal process. Look at here. Look at here. This is a styloid process. It has a ghalaf in the superior side. We say vaginal process. Vaginal means ghalaf in this condition. So guys, this is the last bone in the neurocranium, a sphenoid bone. It's very important, lesser wing, greater wings, the foramina, the fissures, the locations, the surfaces, and the structure passing from them. This is a sphenoid bone. And trigoid process has a canal. We call it trigoid canal. It's at the root. I will tell you in the soft tissue. We had it in one picture. Yes, it's here. Trigoid canal. It's at the beginning of the trigoid process. Trigoid canal. So let's go to the muscle of the face. We finished the neurocranium. We talked about 4 single bones, frontal, occipital, ethmoid, and sphenoid. And we have talked about 2 pair bones, parietal, temporal. We finished 8 bones. Now we want to talk about facial bones or viscerocranium. Osteology, second file. Head and neck is called osteology. The second file is viscerocranium. We have 14 bones, 6 pair and 2 singles. We start with maxillary bone. upper jaw. It has 16 teeth, 8 in the right side, 8 in the left side. When you see the maxillary bone, it has a body. The center of the bone is body of maxilla. The sinus is here, inside of the body of maxilla. This is body of maxilla. And this bone has 4 processes. 4 processes. 1, alveolar process. Yes, for root of the teeth, this part. This part you can see, the root of the teeth, they are located here. We call it alveolar process, root of the teeth. Second part is frontal process, because it goes up and attached to the frontal bone. This yellow color goes up and attached to the frontal bone. This is frontal process of the maxillary bone. Zygomatic process. Yes, because this part, because it goes up and attached to the zygomatic bone. This is zygomatic process. Frontal process, zygomatic process, alveolar process, and number 4, palatine process. Where is it? In the hard palate. In the hard palate, it's here. Roof of the oral cavity, in the hard palate. This is palatine process, this yellow color. Anterior side of the hard palate, this is palatine process. Look at the maxillary sinus inside of the body. I told you the biggest paranasal sinus is located in the maxillary sinus. So let's talk about this shape of the maxillary bone. So you can see infraorbital foramen, like supraorbital foramen in the frontal bone. Infraorbital foramen is located in the maxillary bone. Look at here. Infraorbital foramen, body of maxilla, frontal process of the maxillary bone, alveolar process of the maxillary bone, zygomatic process of the maxillary bone, and here is palatine process in the hard palate. This is palatine process in the hard palate. Yes, it means hard palate. If you see hard palate, the anterior 3/4 is by maxillary bone, posterior 1/4 is by palatine bone. You can see here. Posterior 1/4 is by palatine, but anterior 3/4 by maxillary. So, alveolar process, frontal process, zygomatic process, palatine process. Look at the hard palate. Hard palate, roof of the oral cavity and floor of the nose. We have 1 foramen here. Look at the teeth first of all. I told you 16 teeth in the upper jaw and 16 teeth in the lower jaw. If we divide it to the right and left, 8 in the right, 8 in the left, they have this formula. 2, 1, 2, 3. The 8 teeth. It has this formula. 2, 1, 2, 3. 2 incisive. 1 canine. Canine is very sharp and long. You know the meaning of canine. The animals, they eat meat, like tiger, lion, these animals, canine. 2 incisive, 1 canine, 2 premolar, and 3 molar. 2, 1, 2, 3, 8. 8 right, 8 left, 16. Look at the picture. 2 incisive, 1 canine, 2 premolar, and 3 molar teeth. But you know that in the children, they have milky teeth, and it's not 32, it's in adults, we have 32 teeth in normal condition. 16 upper jaw, 16 lower jaw, 32. But in the child, 20. They don't have this one. They don't have this one. 5, 10, and 10 lower jaw 20. They have 20 teeth. Then milky teeth drop off, and we have permanent teeth. Okay. So we can see one foramen here, incisive foramen. Why? Because it's very good. Because it's behind the incisive teeth. The name of this foramen, incisive foramen, as he said, connect oral cavity to the nasal cavity. Because it's the hard palate. Hard palate is roof of the mouth and is floor of the nose. So it can connect them. It can connect them. Artery and nerves passing.
The nasal palatine nerve passes from the nasal cavity to the mouth.
Okay, and
We have artery, nasal palatine artery together.
greater palatine. Artery goes up, nerve goes down in this canal. Greater palatine artery goes up, and nasopalatine nerve goes down. This is the shape of the nerves coming from nose, but artery coming from mouth. Look at the body of maxilla. Body of maxilla is here. The sinus is here. Body of maxilla, as you can see, it's floor of the orbital cavity. Look at the maxilla. Body of maxilla is floor of the orbital cavity. And I told you, infraorbital fissure is here between greater wing of a sphenoid and maxillary bone. This is infraorbital fissure is located here. Guys, from this alveolar process, for the 2 incisive, 1 canine, 2 premolar, 3 molars, the canine root is very big and obvious. The root of the canine is very big and obvious. We say canine eminence. Look at here, you can see that, the root, and you can touch it in your, gingiva here, Lasse. You can touch it. This is canine eminence. Why? Because the root of the canine tooth is very big. Behind that, we have a fossa. We say canine fossa. So this is canine eminence. And behind that, we have canine fossa in the alveolar process. The next, zygomatic bone. Zygomatic bone is located here, lateral side of the face. It's like L shape. Look at here, it's here. Where is it? In the lateral wall of the orbital cavity and inferior wall of the orbital cavity. Both lateral and inferior. Look at the model. This is zygomatic bone. Lateral wall of the orbital cavity and inferior wall of the orbital cavity. You can see zygomatic bone. This bone has 3 processes. The name of the bones they attach to that. Frontal process, maxillary process, and temporal process. Look at here. Zygomatic bone has frontal process. Yes, because attached to the frontal bone. It has maxillary process. Yes, because attached to the maxillary bone. It has temporal process. I told you, temporal bone has zygomatic process. Zygomatic bone has temporal process. They attach together and making zygomatic arch. This is zygomatic arch, this arch here. Zygomatic, yes, zygomatic arch. You can see that it's here. Okay, zygomatic arch. It has also 3 surfaces. It has also 3 surfaces. One surface in the face. We say facial surface. It's in the face. You can touch it. One surface in the orbit. Yes, lateral wall of the orbit. You can touch it. It's here. This surface, orbital surface. This surface is facial surface. And one surface in the back. Yes, this one, this surface. We say temporal surface. It's here, you can see that. So 3 processes and 3 surfaces. Facial surface, orbital surface, temporal surface. In each surface, it has one foramen. The name of the foramen, you should say the name of the surface and the bone. zygomatico-orbital foramen. Zygomatic bone, orbital surface has a foramen. We say zygomatico-orbital. This is zygomatico-facial. Zygomatical bone in the facial surface, it has zygomatico-facial foramen. In the orbital surface, we have zygomatico-orbital foramen. In the temporal surface, we have zygomatico-temporal foramen. What happens? Zygomatic bone, lateral side of the orbit, and inferior wall of the orbit. It has three processes: frontal process, maxillary process, and temporal process. It has three surfaces: facial surface, orbital surface, temporal surface. In each surface, it has foramen, zygomatico-orbital in the orbital surface, zygomatico-facial in the facial surface, zygomatico-orbital in the orbital surface, and zygomatico-temporal in the temporal surface. Which structure passing from these foramens? Artery and nerves coming from the temporal region. You can see that. Look at the zygomatic arch here. I told you, temporal process of the zygomatic bone and zygomatic process of the temporal bone. They making the zygomatic arch. Because this bone is in the lateral side of the face, fracture of this bone is common. You can see that it's in the lateral side of the face. Nasal bone, number 3. We're talking about pair bones, maxilla, zygomatic, now nasal. Nasal bone is here, superior part of the nose. We know that. Inferior part of the nose, we have cartilage. These are cartilage, and the bony part is just here. We have two small bones, and these are nasal bones. Nasal bones attached to the frontal bone. And the name of the suture, I told you, is frontonasal suture. Frontonasal suture. And in the midpoint, we say nasion. Here we say nasion. Look at this order is important. Look at here. Look at here. The order of the bones in the lateral side of the nose or medial side of the orbit. Look at here. First of all, nasal bone. Number 1. What is this? Number 2. Frontal process of the maxillary is number 2. Lacrimal is here, number 3. Lacrimal bone. And what is number 4? Very good, ethmoidal bone. So this order is very important. Look at here. Number 1, nasal bone. Number 2, frontal process of the maxillary bone. Number 3 is lacrimal bone. And number 4, the white color, is ethmoid, labyrinth of the ethmoid. This order is very important and can help you to understand the location of the bones. Nasal bone, frontal process of the maxillary bone, lacrimal bone, and ethmoid. Guys, head and neck anatomy is very more difficult than upper limb and lower limb. It's very more difficult. Head and neck. These are just the bones. When we go to the soft tissue, you can understand it. You should study each session. Each session, I told you a lot of structure in the neurocranium. Now a lot of structure in the face. Then the next session, next week, I'm not sure when is it. But we start the soft tissue. We have a lot of name, structure, and it's important part of the body, head and neck. We have a very important vital structure. You should study each session. You should practice with the lectures, with the applications. You should ask me if you have any problems. If you don't study, if you think it's easy, if you think I will add you a lot of scores, no, you will fail, all of you. But if you study, if you practice, if you try to learn, I help you, you have class activity, you work in the practical, you work in the theoretical, then you can pass. It's very, honestly, if I want to talk with you, you should consider that. It's more difficult than digestive system, it's more difficult than respiratory system, it's more difficult than upper limbs, lower. These are easy. I think in anatomy, all of them are easy. Head and neck is difficult, and neuroanatomy is difficult. These two subjects are different from other subjects. So if you're now talking with your friends laughing with your friends, playing with your phones, playing with your laptops, playing with your anything else, no problem. But don't come to me after exam and say, we need 2 score, 3 score, 4 score. Do you give us similar question to the previous years? No, they are difficult, they are new questions. The anatomy is important for you, you are medical students. Anatomy is the base mother of the medical science. You should know the head and neck, then you can understand the disease, then you can understand the problems, then you can do surgery, then you can understand it. And again, I tell you, head and neck is anything else, and you should study. Tomorrow we go to the practical, and you have 1 week, 2 week, I know, then you have digestive system, something like this, but don't forget that, you should study that, okay? Because now, if I speak here, I try my best to explain, to drawing picture, I show you in the model, in the practical, but if you don't study that at home, all of them is useless. All of my effort is useless. You should study in the home, and you should ask me if you have any question. We have a lot of good question answer to my question. We have a lot of good students answer to my questions. They try to come with me, okay? But I can see some students don't pay attention. Some students laughing with their friends. Some students don't pay to lectures. And it's not good for you, not for me. It's not good for you because at the end of the semester, you need the score to pass that, okay? And I explain for you, head and neck is difficult. So nasal bone and these structures I told you. Palatine bone. Number 4 is palatine bone, it's pair. Look at the location of the bone, first of all. This bone is L shape. It's pair, right, left, L shape. They attach together like this. This horizontal part, it's in the hard palate. And this vertical part, lateral side of the nose. Again, imagine the location of the palatine bone, L shape, vertical part, lateral side of the nose, horizontal part in the hard palate. I told you in the hard palate, the posterior side is palatine. Look at here. It's here. This is in the hard palate. And the vertical part goes to the lateral side of the nose. Where? Immediately after trigoid process. Look at here, these are trigoid process. Anterior to the trigoid process, you can see that. Look at the model. This, I'm not sure, this purple or what. This color behind the yellow, okay? This is palatine bone, the horizontal part, this part. Okay, it's obvious in the hard palate. But where is the vertical part? Look at here. Anterior to the trigoid process goes up. Anterior to this color, you can see it goes up. Exactly, the vertical plate is anterior to the trigoid process. Look at the picture. The horizontal part in the hard palate, behind the maxilla, and the vertical part in the lateral side of the nose, because we have two L-shaped structure like this. You can see them. Look at the vertical part, it's here. Vertical part is exactly anterior to the trigoid process. Exactly anterior to the trigoid process of the sphenoid bone. It's here. You can see the hard palate, and you can see the posterior side of the hard palate. We have palatine bone. And you can see the vertical part again here in the lateral side of the nose, immediately anterior to the trigoid process. Anterior to the trigoid, so they are in the lateral wall of the nose. Palatine bone, so has two plates, one vertical, one horizontal, and it's pair. Also, it has three processes. two process is in the vertical side. Here, anterior, it has this shape. So the vertical plate, it has two processes. One process anterior, one process posterior. The anterior process is orbital. The posterior process is a sphenoid. This one goes to the orbital cavity. This one attached to the sphenoid. So look at here. The vertical part, one process has anterior side, orbital process. One process in the posterior side, a sphenoid process. And the third process is pyramidal process. Pyramidal process is exactly between horizontal plate and vertical plate. Here it has a process, L shape. Here it has a process between horizontal plate and vertical plate. The name of this process is pyramidal process. It's here. Pyramidal process. So this bone has three processes, two at the vertical plate. Orbital goes to the floor of the orbit, A sphenoid attached to a sphenoid bone. And pyramidal process. Where is the location of the pyramidal process? Pyramidal process comes here. In the trigoid fissure, previous slide. Yes, you can see here. I told you we have trigoid fissure, this one, between medial plate and lateral plate. Pyramidal process comes here, complete this. Pyramidal process of palatine comes to this fissure, and you can see that here. Complete the trigoid fissure, comes to trigoid fissure between medial plate and lateral plate. So palatine bone, you should know the location. In the heart palate, in the lateral side of the nose, you should know the three processes: orbital process, the sphenoid process, and also pyramidal process. And it has foramen. Look at here. In the heart palate, it has foramen. Look at the heart palate. Anterior 3/4 is by maxilla, okay? Posterior 1/4 is by pyramidal bone, palatine bone, okay? It has foramen. Look at here. Greater palatine foramen and lesser palatine foramen. So in the heart palate, palatine bone has foramen in each side. Greater palatine and lesser palatine. Let me show you in better picture. Here. Greater palatine foramen and lesser palatine foramen. The artery and nerve by this name, greater palatine artery and nerve, lesser palatine artery and nerve, passing from these foramens. Usually we have one greater palatine foramen because it's very big one, but lesser palatine maybe two, three, because they are very small foramens. Perpendicular is that vertical I told you. Perpendicular means vertical. I told you it has two plates, one horizontal, one vertical. Vertical means perpendicular. Amut, perpendicular, this one. No. It's about the shape. Because ethmoid bone has perpendicular plate, because the shape of this plate is amut. We say perpendicular plate. Again, palatine bone has perpendicular plate because the shape of this plate is again amut. Is about the shape. For example, a styloid process you have in the hand, you have in the temporal. Why we say a styloid process? Because the shape of the process is like a styloid, a spear, okay? And when we say perpendicular plate, ethmoid has perpendicular plate, palatine has. So why? Because the meaning means amut, vertical, okay?
It's like the sphenoid process, and we have the sphenoid here.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Lacrimal bone. Lacrimal bone. Lacrimal bone is here. I told you the order. Nasal bone, frontal process of the maxillary bone, lacrimal bone, then ethmoid. Guys, look at this color. What is this? No, this one, this one. What is this is bone? Palatine orbital process. I told you the amud vertical part. It has one process for orbital process. Comes here. Very good. In the floor of the orbit. I'm talking about this, guys. Orbital process. Orbital process of the palatine comes to the floor of the orbit. And you can see very small parts here. This one. This one is the orbital process of the palatine bone. Comes to the floor of the orbit. Okay. You can see nasal, maxillary bone, the frontal process, lacrimal, ethmoid. This is orbital process of the palatine. You can see a sphenoid also, optic canal, lesser wing, greater wing, supraorbital fissure, infraorbital fissure. You can see also these two small foramens. What are these? Yesterday I told you. Anterior and posterior ethmoidal canal. I told you when frontal bone and ethmoid attached together, they have two foramen. This is anterior and this one posterior ethmoidal canal. Look at the lacrimal bone, this green color, lacrimal bone. This is the most fragile bone in the face. The most fragile. Fragile means weak, easily broken. The most fragile bone. Why? Because it's weak. It's here. Yes, here we have lacrimal sac. So look at this picture. I told you yesterday. Lacrimal gland is here, upper lateral side of the orbit. Upper lateral side of the orbit. Here is the location of the lacrimal gland. Lacrimal gland consistently produce tear. And when you close your eyes, the tear comes and collects in the lacrimal sac. Lacrimal sac is here in the medial side of the orbit. Exactly here in the lacrimal bone. Here we have lacrimal sac. You can touch it. It's here. Lacrimal sac collect the tear and by a duct send it to the nose. The name of the duct is nasolacrimal duct. Send it to the nose, to the inferior meatus, inferior nasal meatus. So when we say lacrimal bone, because lacrimal sac is here, lacrimal sac is located inside of the lacrimal bone. And you can see the foramen for nasolacrimal canal. The duct goes down. This bone has fossa for the lacrimal sac. Yes, you can see that. You have a fossa for lacrimal sac, and it has two crests. It means if you found this fossa, one crest anterior, one crest posterior. The posterior crest is in the lacrimal bone, but the anterior crest is in the maxillary bone. Look at here. The posterior crest is in the lacrimal bone, but the anterior crest is located in the maxillary bone, and the lacrimal fossa is here, and the lacrimal sac is here. So this is lacrimal fossa for the lacrimal sac, posterior lacrimal crest in the lacrimal bone, anterior lacrimal crest in the maxillary bone. Number 6, inferior nasal concha. We talked about that. We have 3 concha, the superior nasal concha and middle nasal concha. They are from ethmoid bone. The labyrinth, it has 2 concha. Superior is the smallest and inferior the biggest. I told you when you see from anterior view, you can see this picture, superior concha, middle concha, and inferior concha. This concha, they making a space. Look at this color, green color. These are meatus. When you see the nose from anterior view, this is nasal septum. Separate right side and left side. We have vomer. We have perpendicular plate of the ethmoid. We have other bones, cartilage, septum. In each side, you have concha, superior concha, middle concha, and inferior nasal concha. And this concha, they make a space here. Look at this space. We call them meatus. Meatus. 3 concha, 3 meatus. Superior meatus, middle meatus, and inferior meatus. Meatus is the location the sinus send mucosa here. Okay, most of the sinus, frontal sinus, maxillary sinus, they send the secretion mucosa to the middle meatus, to the middle nasal meatus. The lacrimal gland, the lacrimal sac, nasolacrimal duct, send it to the inferior meatus. Nasolacrimal duct send the tear to the inferior meatus. What about superior meatus? Superior meatus is for the ethmoid and sphenoid, the behind, the most posterior. So what? So you should know that the meatus and concha, they have this function. You can see in this picture. And inferior nasal concha, it's a specific bone in the face, is the pair bone here. After a 5-minute rest, we continue the single bone of the face, vomer and mandible. Just 5 minutes. Don't go out. If you go out, come back soon. So in the nasal septum, we have other structures. For example, the anterior side of the septum, you can touch it. Here, the anterior side is cartilage, is flexible because it's septal cartilage. It's here. The superior part of the nasal septum, you can see the perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. I told you it has one vertical plate, perpendicular plate, ethmoid bone, comes to the septum. It's here, as you can see in the picture. So these are the main structures we have in the nasal septum. Vomer, the posterior and inferior side, septal cartilage in the anterior side of the septum, and the superior side, you can see perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. Perpendicular plate of the ethmoid bone. Also, some small structures like, for example, rostrum of a sphenoid crest, you can see them. They are very small structure in the septum of the nose.
The former have participate have to make it the septum of the nose because the ethmoid is upper, the former is our, and make the septum make to me right and left,
Yes, left side and right side. And this picture show you all of them. Show you the perpendicular plate of ethmoid, vomer, and septal cartilage. All of them making this septum, this wall between right side and left side. So vomer inferiorly vomer attached to the heart palate. You can see that. The inferior border attached to the heart palate. Superiorly attached here to the sphenoid body. Superiorly attached to the inferior surface of the sphenoid body. Anteriorly attached to the cartilage on here. Okay, this is the vomer. Vomer has wing. We say ala of vomer, ala of the vomer. Where is that? Here. Here we have vomer has ala. When vomer goes up and attached to the sphenoid body, it has ala, two small ala, wing, attached to the inferior surface of the sphenoid. Let me show you. It's here, attached to the inferior surface of the sphenoid. It's a little open and attached here. We say ala of the sphenoid. Let me show you in better picture if we have. So let me show you in the inferior surface of the sphenoid maybe. No, we don't have a sphenoid. It's here. So look at here. From inferior view, show you the vomer. This is vomer here. You can see that from posterior side in the nasal septum. When attached to the inferior, you can see in this model, when attached into the inferior side of the sphenoid, it has two small wings, and you can see in this picture, this is vomer, and it has two small wings attached to the inferior surface of the sphenoid. You see ala of the vomer. And rostrum of a sphenoid, if you could remember, body of a sphenoid, it has rostrum, goes to this ala because it's in the inferior surface. So, vomer, and you can see nasal septum from anterior view, it's here, and you can see different parts. I told you vomer bone, perpendicular plate of ethmoid, and septal cartilage. These are three big structures in the nasal septum. And the last bone in the skull, the last bone in the face, the single bone in the face, mandible. Mandible, I told you, is it was pair bone in the fetal period and in the newborn, but then attached together, fused together. We don't have suture. We say it's single. It has two parts. One part is body. This is body of mandible. Body of mandible. And it has two ramus. Two ramus. Ramus right side, ramus left side. What is the meaning of ramus? Horn. Ramus, horns. Yes. Yes, the alveolar part and the base is the body. Yes, it's here, alveolar process, like maxillary bone, it has alveolar process for the root of the teeth. Again, in the mandible, we have alveolar process in the body for root of the teeth. Ramus is here. When we say two, the plural form is rami. Two rami or one ramus. Okay, look at here. This is body of mandible. This is ramus of the mandible right and ramus in the left. I told you body has again alveolar process. Yes, again we have 16 teeth. 8 right, 8 left, 16. 2, 1, 2, 3 again. 2 incisive, 1 canine, 2 premolar, 3 molars. They are here. And the lower part of the body, we say base, it's here. Ramus, look at the ramus. Ramus vertically goes up. It has two processes. The posterior side, we say condylar process. Condylar process attached to the mandibular fossa and making TMJ. Condylar process of the mandible goes to the mandibular fossa of the temporal bone and making TMJ. So it's articular parts. For articulation, you can see that is shiny and bright. It means it participates in the joint. The anterior process is coronoid process. Coronoid process. So we have condylar process and coronoid process. What about coronoid process? It's free. Don't attach, doesn't attach to anywhere. It's free. Look at here. This is coronoid process. Very good. End of the temporalis muscle attached to this part. End of the temporalis muscle, insertion of the temporalis muscle attached to the coronoid process. Between condylar process and coronoid process, we have a notch, mandibular notch. It's mandibular notch. So let's see the mandibular bone with more details. Let's start with the body. This region here, we say mental region. This region here, we say mental region. Chin here, chin. Okay, it's here. Everything here is mental. Mental tubercle, mental foramen, mental symphysis. Everything here in this region, chin. Okay, we say mental. What do you say in Arabic to this region? Okay, it's here. So look at here, mental protuberance. This big part, this is mental protuberance. Mental tubercle, lateral to this. These are mental tubercle. Mental foramen, we don't have mental line, oblique line. This line here is oblique line. I will explain for you. Mental foramen, this foramen here is mental foramen. So everything in the mandible is mental in the anterior side. Mental protuberance, mental tubercle, mental foramen. You can see we have one line, we say oblique line. Moel, it's here from anterior side of the coronoid process goes to the body. This is oblique line, oblique line. You can see that here. And these are a structure you can see outside of the body. Let's see inside of the body. What we have inside of the body. Inside of the body, like oblique line here, you have one line inside, and this line is mylohyoid line. Mylohyoid line. Why? The name of this line is mylohyoid. Mylohyoid muscles, where is that? Floor of the mouth. This is floor of the mouth, oral cavity. We have one muscle like this, one right, one left, attached together. The name of this muscle is mylohyoid. Mylo referred to the mandible. Hyoid attached to the hyoid bone. Mylohyoid muscle is here, floor of the mouth, and start from this line. Start from this line. And this is floor of the mouth. So this mylohyoid line inside of the mandible body separates two fossa. The line is like this. Separate two fossa, one fossa inferior and posterior, one fossa superior and anterior. Sublingual, submandibular. What are these structures? Very good. Salivary glands. They produce saliva. Laop, yes? Yes, they produce, yes, these are three salivary glands. They produce saliva, laop. So, submandibular gland is here in this fossa. Sublingual gland is here in this fossa. And these two fossa, for these two salivary glands, they produce saliva, laop, separates by this line, mylohyoid line. Inside of the body, besides of this line and these two fossa, we have some small spine, exactly medial to the mental region. Here, we have some small spines, or we say genial tubercle, or mental spines. Genial tubercle or mental spines. Two superior, two inferior. So you have four mental spines or genial tubercle. What is the benefits of these spines? Origin of which muscle? Very good. The superior spines is for genioglossus muscle. And start from here, goes to the tongue. Genioglossus muscle. The muscle send your tongue out from mouth. This is genioglossus. Genioglossus, glossus tongue. Genio refer to the genial tubercle here. The lower spines, the inferior spines for geniohyoid muscle. Start from here and attach to the hyoid. Geniohyoid. So these spines, these tubercle are origin of the muscle. The superior for genioglossus and inferior for geniohyoid muscles. They have small spines. And the last point in the body, we should talk about two small fossa here at the inferior border. It means here. Digastric fossa. We have digastric today in one other part. There was, I told you about digastric muscle in one part of the temporal bone. Very good. Mastoid notch. I told you mastoid process medially, it has a notch, mastoid notch, and it has a groove, occipital groove for occipital artery. But mastoid notch, the lateral, is for the digastric muscle. Digastric means two belly. It has two parts. One part here, one part here. The posterior part starts from mastoid, attached to the hyoid, finish. The anterior part starts from hyoid and attach here to this side of the mandible. For this reason, here we have digastric fossa. Digastric muscles finish here. Digastric muscle finish here. Let's talk about ramus. So, between body and between ramus, we have angle. Xavier, angle of the mandible, it's here. Ramus from outside. Outside of the ramus is a little rough. Muscle attached here, masseter muscle. Masseter for mastication. Mazagha, it's here. Masseter muscle outside of the ramus. I told you about these two processes, coronoid process and condylar process. Condylar process participate in the mandibular fossa in the TMJ. Anterior to the condylar process, you can see it has head, it has neck, okay, no problem. Anterior to, this is head, this is neck. Anterior to the neck, it has a triangular fova, a small fossa, we say fova. It has a triangular fova, trigoid fova, trigoid muscles attached to that. I will tell you, trigoid fova. So again, look at the condyle of the mandible. It has head, it has neck. Anterior to the neck, it has a fova. We say trigoid fova. Lateral trigoid muscle, exactly. Between coronoid process and condylar process, you have a notch. This is mandibular notch. It's here. Mandibular notch. Coronoid process, condylar process, head. And this is this a small triangular fossa. Look at here. This is trigoid fova, anterior side of the neck. Yes. Now I will explain.
How it is have the part of the beginning of the mandibular foramen, which mandible artery near vein passes, and finally it is exited from
mental foramen.
This origin and give rise to innervativity.
Exactly, it's true. And they are located in the medial side of the ramus. We talked about external side of the ramus. Now let's see inside of the ramus, what we have here. Inside of the ramus, we have a foramen. This is beginning a canal inside of the bones. The artery and nerves for the lower teeth, they go to the inside of this canal. The name of this foramen is mandibular foramen. Okay. The name of this foramen, the beginning of this canal is mandibular foramen, the beginning of mandibular canal. What we have inside of this canal? Artery and nerve for the lower teeth. We say inferior alveolar artery, inferior alveolar nerve. Okay. Anterior to this foramen, you have something like tongue, lingual. We say lingula. It's here, lingula. It's very small, and it's located anterior to this foramen. So in this one is more obvious. It's here, lingula, anterior to this foramen. Some ligaments attached to that. But outside of this canal, outside of this foramen, I can see a groove. Guys, it was mylohyoid line, I told you. Submandibular fossa, sublingual fossa, okay? Mylohyoid line. But this groove is mylohyoid groove. This is mylohyoid groove. This one is mylohyoid line. Mylohyoid line, I told you, is the beginning, origin of the mylohyoid muscle. But what about mylohyoid groove? Very good. Do you know why? Because the nerve and artery for the lower teeth, they go to the inside of this canal, go to the teeth, okay? But one nerve and one artery comes out and comes to this groove and go down. So this groove is for the mylohyoid nerve and mylohyoid artery. Yes, the branch of the teeth comes out and passing from this groove. For this reason, we say mylohyoid groove. The nerve for mylohyoid muscle passing from this groove. So I told you about foramen, canal, groove, lingula. Here, the condyle. You can see the picture. Everything is obvious in the outside and in the inside. You can read the lectures also. Look at the nerve. mandibular nerve, it has a branch, inferior alveolar nerve, goes to inside of the canal for the lower teeth. But this nerve also has a branch, mylohyoid. This one comes out and it's located in the groove. You can see TMJ joint, condyle of the mandible, in the mandibular fossa of the temporal bone, TMJ joint. You can see coronoid process is free, is not attached to the bones. And I think it's enough. We have just 2-3 slides, okay? They need more, view. You should have some vision about the bones. Let me explain that in the next weeks, anytime we have the next weeks. I will explain for you temporal fossa, infratemporal temporal fossa, and trigopalatine fossa. They are important because you should know all of the bones, sphenoid, maxillary, ethmoid, palatine. Then you can understand this fossa. I will explain this fossa next week. And we finish the bones and we go to the muscles. Tomorrow we have practical. Please study. Be ready for the practical. And I will see you there at tomorrow morning. If you have any question, problem, you can ask me. It looks like a pyramid. It looks like a pyramid. Okay? The base is outside. The base is outside. The apex is in the medial side. So imagine we have a pyramid. The base is outside, but the apex, ras, comes to the medial side. Look at the picture. The base is lateral, but the apex comes to the medial side. Imagine this. When you see this pyramid, it has 3 surfaces and it has 3 borders. How? Look at here. It has this shape. The shape of the petrous is like this. What is that? It has one anterior surface. It has one posterior surface, and it has one inferior surface. The shape of the petrous is like a triangle, transection. If you cut this, petrous part, you can see a triangle like this. Anterior surface, anterior side. Posterior surface, posterior side, and one inferior surface. This is the shape of the petrous. The base is lateral, apex is medial, and it has this shape, the body of petrous. So anterior surface, posterior surface, and inferior surface. It has 3 surfaces. Borders, superior border, anterior border, posterior border. So the borders, superior border, anterior border, and posterior border. You have this triangle. Okay, pyramid with this shape. So let me show you in the picture. Look at here. I check the petrous from superior view. I see that from superior view. This is superior border between anterior surface and posterior surface. I can see superior border. Again, anterior surface, posterior surface. This is superior border. So it's here. This is anterior surface here. This one is posterior surface here, and between them you have superior border. Imagine this. Anterior surface, posterior surface. Between them here you have superior border. You can see that. This is superior border. Here is anterior surface. Here is posterior surface between them. Where is the inferior surface? So you should see from inferior view. Inferior surface, you should see that from inferior view. Where is that? It's here. Inferior view. This is inferior surface. So the shape of this petrous is like a triangle with 3 surfaces and with 3 borders. When you see the picture, you should understand. This is inferior surface. Let me show you here. This one, inferior surface. I can see that from inferior view. Inferior surface. Where is anterior surface? So here, this surface, I touch it. This part. Anterior surface. Where is posterior surface? Here. Posterior side. posterior surface, anterior surface, inferior surface, and borders between them. I told you in the cranial fossa, between medial cranial fossa and posterior cranial fossa, the border is here, superior border of the petrous. Superior border of the petrous divides the middle cranial fossa from posterior cranial fossa. In each surface, you have different structure. For example, in anterior surface here, in this surface, we have some structure. In posterior surface here, we have different structure, and also in inferior surface here, we have other structure. Let's see what we have in the anterior surface. This view, this is anterior surface. This one posterior surface, this is anterior, completely anterior surface. So what we have in the anterior surface, but let me tell you, the hearing system is located in the petrous part. Hearing system completely is here in the petrous part. Middle ear, internal ear, they are located in the petrous part. I told you carotid canal, it's in the petrous part. All of them, they are located in the petrous part. So let's start the anterior surface. Anterior surface here. What we have in the anterior surface of the petrous part? Let me show you the better picture. This is anterior surface. In anterior surface, close to the apex, base apex, close to the apex, I can see an impression. Impression is location of something. Here, in anterior surface, close to the apex here, I have an impression. Let me show you in another picture. For example, this one. Here I have impression. Anterior surface, close to the apex, here. I have impression, let's see. Trigeminal impression. Trigeminal impression. So, trigeminal nerve is cranial nerve number 5. Cranial nerve number 5 is trigeminal. So why it has this name, tri? It means three. It has 3 roots.
Yes.
Maxillary nerve, mandibular nerve, ophthalmic nerve. No problem. This nerve, it has ganglion. Do you know what is the meaning of ganglion? What does it mean? Ganglion. What is ganglion and what is the function of the ganglion? This nerve has ganglion. Ganglion. So guys, look at here. You know, neuron is the main cell of the nervous system. This is the shape of the neuron. It has a body. It has nucleus. The body has nucleus. It has one big axon, one long axon, and some small short dendrites. So this is a typical neuron. Body of neuron or soma, and small dendrites, long axons. This is the shape of the neurons, the main cell of the nervous system. When neurons collect together, some neurons, they have one function. They are sense of the skin. These are motor of the skin. You know that neurons, they have different function. Some of them are sensory. For example, when you touch your face, you can feel it. Why? Because dendrites of the neuron, they are in the skin. Dendrites, they are receptors. They receive signals. Dendrites, they are in the face. They receive the mechanical stress here, then send it to the nervous system. Then you can understand it. These neurons, they are sensory. They are afferent. They send information to the nervous system, sensory. But efferent or motor neuron, they are opposite. I decide in my brain, I want to flex my fingers. So I flex it. This is motor neuron. I start from brain, then goes out from the system and flex muscle. These are motor neuron. they goes out from the body. They go out from the body. So motor neuron sends signals to the muscle. Sensory opposite. Collect the information from environment and send it to the CNS.
What about sensory and motor?
Yes, some nerves, they are both sensory and motor. No problem. I told you now, they have group of neurons, they have same function. Group of neurons, what does it mean? It means, so imagine, body of neurons. They are connected together, they have same function, they are sensory, they are motor, anything. If this collection of the neurons, if collection of the neurons, you can see them inside of the CNS, it means in the brain, in the spinal cord, CNS, central nervous system, we call it nucleus.
Yes.
Motor nucleus of the vagus nerve. It means vagus nerve has motor function, and the nucleus means collection of the neurons. But when you can see collection of the neurons in the PNS, we say ganglion. So collection of the neuron, this collection of the neurons. If you can see them in the PNS, inside of the nerves, we call it ganglion. So ganglion is collection of the body of neurons in the PNS, in the nerve. We call it ganglion. But if this collection, you can see them, for example, inside of the brain, you can see a collection. Because it's located inside of the CNS, we call it this collection is nucleus. But if it's in the nerve, in the PNS, we say this collection is ganglion. So this nerve, trigeminal nerve, it has ganglion. It has ganglion, and the impression of this ganglion is here. The location of this ganglion is here. And we say anterior surface of the petrous part has impression for the ganglion of the trigeminal nerve. So which nerves they have ganglion? All of the nerves they have ganglion? No. Sensory.
Petrosal nerve? Petrosal nerve?
Petrosal nerve. So let's, yes, a lot of nerves, it's true. A lot of nerves they have ganglion. But let's explain it better. Which nerves they have ganglion? Sensory nerve. Sensory nerve. Parasympathetic nerve. Parasympathetic. Parasympathetic. Sympathetic. They have ganglion. You will study these two later in the next semester. But why motor nerves they don't have ganglion? Why motor nerves they don't have ganglion? Sensory nerve they have ganglion. Who can explain that?
For receiving information.
So why? So
The main organ or the main part for receiving information is the body. So the leading connection of the body.
yes, you are very close. It's true. So I told you the sensory nerve. I touch my face. I can feel it. Okay. So which part of the neuron is here? Axon dendrites body. Dendrites. Dendrites they are receptor. Dendrites, they are located here in the face, they receive. So where is the body? Body is on the nerve. So body is not in the CNS. Body of sensory, look at here, for example, this is face, this is dendrites, receive the signals. The body is outside here. Axons come to the CNS. Axons goes to the brain, spinal cord. So the body of sensory neurons, they are outside of the CNS. So sensory neurons, they have ganglion. But motor neuron, no. The body is in the CNS. Just axons go out from the CNS. It's important, pay attention here. Let's cut the spinal cord. Okay? What is the shape of the spinal cord? It's like this. Transection of the spinal cord. It has gray matter, white matter. Gray matter is inside. This is gray matter in the spinal cord. And this peripheral part is white matter. Why it's white?
Because the axis of
What they have?
the body of the neurons, not the body, the axis, the tail of the neurons.
So why axons they are white?
لأنه هي مين؟
Myelin.
مايل.
So yes, this white area in the brain, in the spinal cord, they are white because they have myelin. Myelin covering the axons. Look at here again. This is a neurons. This is axons. These are dendrites. Okay. Axons, they have myelin. What is the function of myelin?
Accelerate.
Yes, increase the speed of the sending message.
Yes.
Myelin. So axons, they have myelin. No body, no dendrites. Axons. So this white matter in the spinal cord, it means they are axons, they are myelin. Okay. What about gray matter?
The body.
The body and dendrite, the body. They are gray because they don't have myelin. Okay, no problem. What is the function? Look at here. Here we have some neurons in the CNS. For this reason, they are gray. Because here is body of neurons. So axons go out and go to the muscle. This is motor neuron. The body is here. And just axons go out. This is motor neuron. Ganglion, no ganglion. Because body is here, inside of the CNS. It has no clues. So let's see sensory nerve. This is the efferent nerve. They send signals out to the muscles. Look, let's see the motor neuron. Motor neuron, this was sensory neuron. Sensory neuron receive the signals here. For example, in the face. For example, these are dendrites. Receive the signals. Where is the body? Body is outside here, in the ganglion. Body of neurons, they are in the ganglion. And just axons goes to the spinal cord. So this is sensory neurons. Sensory neurons, these are dendrites receiving the signals. Taste, smelling, hearing, any sense, touch, pain, temperature, all of them. The body is outside. The body of neurons is outside, on the nerve. So we say this is ganglion. And axons finally send information to the CNS. These are sensory neuron or afferent, comes to the CNS. But this is motor neuron or efferent, go out. Motor neuron, they don't have ganglion. Because the body is here, in the gray matter, finish, in the CNS. But sensory neuron, they have ganglion. Why? Because the dendrites is outside, body is outside. Did you get that?
Yes.
Who can explain to other students? What is motor neuron? What is sensory neuron? Why sensory neuron? They have ganglion. What is the passageway outside, inside? Who understand all of this? Who understood all of this? Can you explain to other students? In Arabic, you can explain that. Okay, come here. And tell, the main topic is why sensory neuron, they have ganglion. Explain to the other students. Pay attention, guys.
السلام عليكم. الدكتور كان انه يتحدد انه عن التراجيمينال نيرف، كان انه التراجيمينال نيرف هو من اسمه تراي، يعني راح يحتوي لي على 3 برانشز، ماكسيلري نيرف، مانديبل نيرف، اوفتالميك نيرف. وقال انه التراجيمينال نيرف يحتوي على جانجليون بمعنى عقده. زين، شنو معناته؟ معناته انا اكو عندي انه بالنظامات انا عندي نوعين، عندي CNS وعندي PNS. CNS is abbreviation of Central Nervous System، اللي هو شنو اقصد بيه؟ اللي هو اقصد بيه البرين والسباينال كورد اللي هو الحبل الشوكي. PNS abbreviation of Peripheral Nervous System اللي هو اقصد بيه مثلا Vagus Nerve، Median Nerve، Ulnar Nerve، اي شيء يعني. Sciatic Nerve. هذا زين. انا اكو عندي نوعين من الاعصاب، عندي موتور نيرف واكو عندي شنو؟ سنسوري نيرف. الموتور نيرف ما راح يحتوي لي شنو على جانجليون، ليش؟ لان اول شيء احنا عندنا الخليه العصبيه تحتوي على بادي وتحتوي على اكسس، وهنا تحتوي على على المايولين. المايولين يكون اللون مالته وايت ابيض، فلهالسبب انا اذا اجيب السباينال كورد اخذ من عنده السكشن في المقطع عرضي، اشوف انه اقعد هنا مثل اشوف هنا اقعد هاي منطقه بيضاء وهنا منطقه رماديه. المنطقه الرماديه لانه البادي مالت النيورونز متجمعه سويه، وهنا وايت بسبب انه وجود المايولين. فاكو عندي انا النير اذا طلع لي من السباينال كورد، او حتى اذا طلع لي من البرين وراح لي الى العضله مثلا قال لي اسوي فليكشن اكستنشن، هاي يعتبر موتر. الموتر ما راح يحتوي لي شنو على جانجليون، ولكن مثلا اقعد اسمي مثل الفيشل نير، الفيشل نير هو عباره عن سنسور نير. فمثلا انا من اجي يعني انه هذا الزموجي او شيء، هاي الاشارات هاي السيجنال راح تنتقل من يعني انه من يعني البريفرال انفايرمنت تروح لإلمن الى الجانجليون، وبما انه هاي انه خارجيه يعني ما لها علاقه بالسنترال نيرفس سيستم، فراح تحتوي على الجانجليون، بس شنو؟ راح تعطي معلومات للسباينال كورد، انه من السباينال كورد راح تنتقل للدماغ.
Did you get that? Yes. So for this reason, sensory nerves, they have ganglion. Trigeminal nerve, you said all of the information correctly, but except one. Facial nerve is motor for the face. Trigeminal is sensory for the face. So this is trigeminal nerve, for example. So, do you have any question? Did you get that? Thank you so much. Clap for him. So we are in the petrous part, we are in the anterior surface. I told you in the anterior surface. First of all, you have impression. Impression for a ganglion of the trigeminal nerve. Because trigeminal nerve is the sense of the face. Sense of the face is by trigeminal nerve. The three branch, mandibular nerve, maxillary nerve, ophthalmic nerve. All of them are the sense of the nerve. Another structure you can see in the anterior surface is arcuate eminence. What is that? It's here. You have eminence, we call it arcuate eminence.
Is related to internal ear?
Very good. Internal ear. What we have in the internal ear?
It has
Semicircular canals. Very good. As he said, internal ear, you know that it has halazon and it has some structures, okay? It has this shape. These are semicircular canals. Then it has cochlea or halazon. So one of these circular goes up and make arch here. So this arcuate eminence is the location of these semicircular canals for the internal ear. You say arcuate eminence. Arcuate means arch. OC. Arcuate eminence. So again, what we have in the anterior surface, after ganglion, after arcuate eminence, the lateral side, the anterior surface, the lateral side, it has a very flat bone. It has a very flat bone. We call it tegmen tympani. It's not showed here, but let me show you in another picture. Tegmen tympani, it's here. So look at the arcuate eminence. Look at the impression of the trigeminal ganglion, and look at the tegmen tympani, lateral to the arcuate eminence. What is that tegmen tympani? Tegmen tympani is the roof of the middle ear. Guys, look at here. We have one external ear, outer ear, external, one middle ear, one inner ear. Three parts. The middle ear, it has a roof. This is tegmen tympani. So this is roof of the middle ear. This one is inner ear, and one semicircular canal in the inner ear. I told you the hearing system is in the petrous part, so you can see that. One of them is the roof of the middle ear, and one of them is related to the inner ear. They are in the petrous part. So you have this structure in the anterior surface. Look at here. Impression of trigeminal ganglion, I told you. Arcuate eminence, I told you. And tegmen tympani, roof of the middle ear, I told you. In this location, in the roof of the middle ear, we have two small foramen. Lesser petrosal nerve and greater petrosal nerve. I will tell about these nerves again, but just pay attention here. In this location, we have two foramen. two small foramen. One for lesser petrosal nerve, one for greater petrosal nerve. Okay, they are parasympathetic nerve, I will tell you. What is sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve? Sympathetic, parasympathetic.
Autonomic nervous system.
Very good. Autonomic nervous system, what does it mean?
It means control and voluntary.
Very good. You know that some part of the body, it's eradi. We can control it.
Yes.
I close my eyes, I feel legs. But some part of the body is not under our control.
Yes.
Yes, it's not voluntary. For example, movement of the stomach is not under your control.
Yes.
Movement of the,
Heart.
for example, heart. They are controlled by autonomic system. They are automatically working. So sympathetic and parasympathetic, they are two parts of the autonomic system. Sympathetic increase everything. Increase heartbeat, increase blood pressure, increase body temperature. When you are in the fight and fear, when you have a stress. When you want to talk, for example, you have a stress, your body temperature increase, your heartbeat increase. But parasympathetic is opposite. When you are relaxed, when you are eating, body temperature decrease, heartbeat decrease, blood pressure decrease, but digestive system works better in the parasympathetic. So these nerves, lesser petrosal and greater petrosal, they are parasympathetic nerves, I will tell you.
The para is increase or decrease?
Para decrease.
Decrease.
Parasympathetic decrease, sympathetic increase. So I told you anterior surface. Let's see posterior surface. This is posterior surface of the petrous part. It's here, posterior surface of the petrous part. What we have in the posterior surface of, I can see a foramen. What is that? Internal acoustic meatus. This one is external acoustic meatus. There I can see the hearing system. Hearing system finally has internal acoustic meatus. The nerves send information to the brain. So this is internal acoustic meatus. Which nerve is related to the hearing system?
Cranial nerve number 8 and 7.
Very good. Cranial nerve number 8.
And 7.
And 7. Number 8, the name of the cranial nerve number 8 is vestibulocochlear nerve. Vestibulocochlear nerve. It has two parts. Vestibular for balance. Cochlear is halazon. Cochlear for the hearing. So vestibular cochlear nerve is cranial nerve number 8, coming from hearing system. It has two functions. You know that ear has two functions, for balance and for the hearing. Vestibular for the balance, cochlear for the hearing, and this is cranial nerve number 8. Send information to the brain. Complete sensory from ear.
Doctor, what's the meaning of balance?
Balance. You know that inside of the ear we have some fluid. When you move your head, this information from the ear goes to the CNS, goes to the little brain, and can control your balance. This is the function. You know that ear has two functions. One of them is for controlling the balance. Okay? Just this nerve passing from this foramen? No. We have one artery. Labyrinth artery is for the ear. Labyrinth artery is for the ear. They comes to the ear by this foramen, and the third nerve, the third structure, is facial nerve, passing from here. It has no function for the ear, just passing from here. So if I ask you which structures passing from internal acoustic meatus, you should know that. We have cranial nerve number 8, vestibulocochlear, facial nerve number 7 goes to this region, and one artery goes here, labyrinth artery. These are three structures. Besides of this foramen, internal acoustic foramen, what we have in the posterior surface, we can see subarcuate fossa. What is that? In the anterior surface, you have arcuate eminence, You have big part, arcuate eminence, but in posterior surface, you have subarcuate fossa. Anterior surface has eminence, tubercle, but posterior surface has a fossa, subarcuate fossa. It's here. This is the region of subarcuate fossa. And vestibular aqueduct. Vestibular aqueduct, what is that? It's a small sulcus. It's a small sulcus, it's here. Vestibular aqueduct is a small sulcus, is for the endolymph. Endolymph is the fluid in the ear. Connect that. Connect that. So guys, in the posterior surface you have three structures. Internal acoustic notus, subarcuate fossa, and vestibular aqueduct is a small sulcus for the endolymph, for the fluid inside of the ear. The last surface is inferior surface. This picture. Inferior surface. You can see that from inferior view. I'm talking about here. Inferior surface. It's here. In the inferior view. What we have in the inferior surface? Guys, first of all, look at the styloid process. This is a styloid process. Yes, it's here. Styloid process, a styloid process. This is a styloid process. Look at the inferior view, it's here. Medial to the styloid is very important. Pay attention. Medial to the styloid process, you have two foramen. Look at here. Styloid process. This is jugular fossa for the jugular foramen, and this is carotid canal. I told you yesterday, jugular foramen. Let me show you from inferior view. Look at here, look at the inferior view. This is petrous part. This is petrous part from inferior surface, okay? Inferior surface of petrous part. This is jugular foramen, and this one is carotid canal. Then you can find them. First of all, see the styloid process. Then medial to the styloid process, you can see them. Jugular foramen and carotid canal. I told you yesterday about jugular foramen. Jugular foramen is between two bones, occipital bone and temporal bone, both of them. Occipital bone has notch, jugular notch. Temporal bone has jugular fossa. So these two attach together. These two attach together and making foramen. Jugular foramen. Okay. When you found jugular foramen, anterior to the jugular foramen, you have carotid canal. Carotid canal is for the artery, internal carotid artery, but jugular foramen is for the vein, internal jugular vein, and three nerves. Cranial nerve number 9, 10, 11. Look at this picture. Show you all of the foramens and the structure passing from that. For example, jugular foramen, jugular fossa, vagus nerve, accessory nerve, glosopharyngeal 9, 10, 11, and internal jugular vein. Carotid canal, internal carotid artery. I told you in occipital bone, for example, hypoglossal canal, condylar canal, you can see them. All of them, they are here. So look at the inferior surface again. I can see jugular fossa for the jugular foramen, jugular fossa and jugular notch attached together, making jugular foramen. You can see carotid canal. They are here in the inferior surface. If you go a little medially, you can see a rough area. You can see a rough area. We call it quadrangular surface. Quadrangular surface. What is the meaning of quadrangular? Quadrate. Murabba. Yes, quadrangular. It means it has four parts, four quarters. Yes. Quadrangular surface is rough. Why? Because muscles attach here. Muscles for the soft palate, they attach here. So we have quadrangular surface, we have carotid canal, we have jugular fossa. Jugular fossa, it has 3 small foramens, one lateral, one medial, one anterior. We call them canaliculus. Jugular fossa has 3 small foramens, one medial, one lateral, one anterior. We call them canaliculus. It's enough. You don't need to memorize them. Let's talk about borders. So this is superior border between anterior surface and posterior surface. This is superior border. It's here. One small vein passing from here. Superior petrosal sinus. Superior petrosal sinus is located in the superior border. So it has one small vein, superior petrosal sinus. What about the posterior border? Posterior border is here. Posterior border is here, attached to the occipital bone, and we have inferior petrosal sinus. So superior border has superior petrosal sinus. Posterior border has inferior petrosal sinus. What about anterior border? Attached to the sphenoid, finish. So you can see this shape. Anterior surface, posterior surface, inferior surface, superior border, anterior border, and posterior border. Posterior border has inferior petrosal sinus. Superior border has superior petrosal sinus. Look at this picture, you can see that. Superior border has superior petrosal sinus. But posterior border has inferior petrosal sinus. This sinus finish in the internal jugular vein. Finish in the internal, as you can see here, finish in the internal jugular vein, and the superior one goes to the transverse sinus. Mastoid part. Mastoid part is here, behind the ear. This is mastoid part. Mastoid parts in the inferior side is sharp, and we say mastoid process. So this is mastoid part. Inferior side is sharp, we say mastoid process. The lateral side of the mastoid part is rough. It means muscles attached here. Which muscle? This one. SCM, this one. External chalaedomastoid, attached to the mastoid. Lateral side of the mastoid. Inside of the mastoid parts, you have air. You have empty space. You have some cells. Look at here. They have air. Why? For the balance of the pressure in the ear. So we need mastoid part, we say, is pneumonized. It has air. So you can see that. Inside of the mastoid part, you have some air cells. And they are connected with middle ear to balance the air pressure. Inside of the mastoid part, so you can see, let's see from inferior view, or it's better. This is mastoid part. Okay. This one is a styloid process. Between a styloid process and mastoid part, we have a foramen. Between a styloid process and mastoid part, we have a foramen. Look at here. Styloid process, mastoid part. Between them, we have a foramen. The name of this foramen is a stylomastoid foramen. A stylomastoid foramen. Which structure passing from here? Facial nerve goes out from here finally. Finally, facial. Let me show you the picture again. It's here. A styloid process, mastoid process, and a stylomastoid foramen. Facial nerve finally goes out from the stylomastoid foramen. So mastoid part, what it has again. When you see mastoid part, from medial side, you have two grooves. You can see that here. You have two grooves, one lateral, one medial. Let me show you here. It's here, one lateral, one medial. You have two notch, two grooves. The lateral one is mastoid notch. Mastoid notch. For one muscle, digastric muscle. Digastric muscle is in the neck, I will tell you. But the origin of the digastric muscle, mastoid notch. Yes, start from here, attach to the higher hip bone. Yes. So this is mastoid notch. For digastric muscle, a little medial you have a groove. Occipital groove for occipital artery. So medial side of the mastoid, you can see these two structures, mastoid notch and occipital groove. So, the last point about mastoid is the completely inside of the skull. Mastoid has for impression for sigmoid sinus. If you could remember yesterday, I told you internal occipital protuberance is the confluence of the sinus. Then we have two transverse sinus. Then we have two sigmoid sinus. Sigmoid sinus passing from inside of the mastoid. Look at here, transverse sinus, sigmoid sinus passing from inside of the mastoid part, and you can see that. Let me show you. It's here. And finish in the jugular foramen. This is the location of the sigmoid sinus inside of the mastoid part, and finish in the jugular foramen. So. Let's have 5 minutes rest, then we continue. Just 5 minutes.
Oh.